Three even?
Say three.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, the Jackson County Board of Commissioners. Today is September the 1st, 2020. First item of business today is we do have a couple of proclamations. I'm going to recognize, I believe, Commissioner Mao, who is going to present the first proclamation. Mr. Mao.
Firefighter Rescue Squad and First Responder Week, September 6th through the 12th. Whereas firefighters, rescue squad members, and first responders provide valuable services through their assistance to the citizens of their communities and Jackson County during the times of need and crisis. And whereas they respond to emergencies without hesitation when the call of duty arises and tirelessly give of their time and energy in humanitarian efforts, making themselves available every hour of the day, every day of the year. And whereas responders have physical strength, stamina, extensive training, courage, and selfless concern for the welfare of others. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the duties and services that firefighters, rescue squad members, and first responders perform by observing September 6th through September 12th as Firefighter, Rescue Squad, and First Responder Week in Jackson County. Now, therefore, the Jackson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim September 6th through the 12th as Firefighter, Rescue Squad, and First Responder Week in Jackson County, and encourages all residents to take time to show the volunteers how much their service is valued in the county. Adopted the first day of September 2020, attested by Angela Winchester, Clerk of the Board, signed by Brian Thomas McMahon, Chairman.
Okay. We have a motion to accept this proclamation and to approve it.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any question or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I do believe that we have with us by Zoom Michael Forbes. He's here by phone.
Yes, sir.
So I'll recognize our Fire Marshal, Mr. Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for that proclamation. You know, we have a lot of volunteers through this county that do a lot of the firefighters and first responders and rescue squad members, and just thank you for recognizing them. And I encourage the public, just like the proclamation says, when they're out and about, go up to them and tell them how much you appreciate the service that they do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir. Next, we're going to hear a proclamation concerning Opioid Awareness Month. I'll recognize Commissioner Woody.
Proclamation declaring September as Jackson County Opioid Awareness Month. Whereas the opioid epidemic, overdose deaths, and substance misuse pose a threat to the life, health, and well-being of Jackson County residents, and whereas life expectancy in the United States has declined for 3 years in a row for the first time since World War I, fueled in large part by a record number of drug overdose deaths. And whereas more people die from drug overdose deaths than car crashes. And whereas 10 Jackson County residents lost their lives in opioid overdoses and 30 residents were rushed to the emergency room due to opioid overdoses in 2018 alone. And whereas the opioid epidemic has contributed to a rise in serious and costly health consequences. And whereas the opioid epidemic has contributed to a significant rise in the number and rate of hospitalizations associated with drug withdrawal in newborns, and a rise in the number of children in foster care. And whereas the opioid epidemic, overdose, death, and substance misuse cause pain, suffering, and loss to individuals, families, and communities that can never be measured. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Jackson County that September is Jackson County Opioid Awareness Month, adopted the first day of September 2020, attested by Angela M. Winchester, Clerk to the Board, signed by Brian Thomas McMahon, Chairman.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any question or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we also have with us by Zoom Melissa McKnight from the Jackson County Department of Public Health to offer some comments. There's Melissa. in the
Hi,
board.
thank you guys very much. I am very gracious that you guys took this time to recognize September as Opioid Awareness Month. As you all are very well aware, we have been, meaning public health has been in the news quite a lot lately given our COVID-19 response. But I am thankful that you guys took this time to recognize our other efforts that we put forward to protect the public health in terms of substance abuse awareness, obesity prevention, and more. So again, thank you for recognizing September as Opioid Awareness Month, and please look forward throughout the month for various media articles, social media posts, and website updates that we will put forward to make sure our community understands the importance of this acknowledgement.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, then, do we have a motion to approve it as presented? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is the approval of the minutes. You should have received a copy of the regular meeting from August the 4th, 2020, and the work session minutes from August the 11th, 2020, as distributed by the clerk in advance. What's the pleasure of the board concerning these minutes?
We accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, is there a second? Question or discussion? All in favor of the approval of the minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is the administrative reports. I don't have a report to offer today, and we will start with Commissioner Dietz.
No,
Okay, Commissioner Woody.
Yes, I would like to take a moment to congratulate James Buchanan. Governor Roy Cooper recently appointed to the 7-year term on the North Carolina Board of Examiners of Electrical Contractors. So he will serve on this board for a 7-year term. Mr. Buchanan has served Jackson County very well and lives in the Savannah community, and this acknowledgement of his expertise by the governor, I think, speaks very highly of him, and I just want to congratulate him.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to also mention, we had our Greenway and Trails meeting, and there is online now, they're calling it a story map. And if you have not seen that, I would really encourage you to go on that. Mike Poston and several of us participated in that Zoom meeting. And it's so gratifying to see how our county is working so hard to move ahead with some connectivity. Sidewalks have been built in Cashers. They're being used a lot. And we know that people have had to alter their exercise because of COVID, and our greenways and trails are being used greatly during this time. So I just wanted to say how we appreciate our county's work on those efforts.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Mao.
I do not have anything tonight.
Okay, Commissioner Luker.
Mr. Chairman, I have no report. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next, we'll recognize our county manager, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I hope everybody's doing well today. Give me a second, I need to get something up on the screen here. There we go. Just as brief as I can, I have passed out to everybody the legal advertisement for bid that is going out for the Green Energy Park project in Dillsboro. Ultimately, you can see that bids will be due October 1st, 2020. The bids will be received in this room, the commissioner's room, at 2 p.m. We are also holding a pre-bid conference on site September 17th, 2020, 2 p.m. That will be at the Green Energy Park site. We don't make this mandatory, but we highly recommend that all bidders attend. One other note here is this is a practice that started a few years ago. We will send this ad to all of our general contractors locally and also to all of our subcontractors. And we highly encourage licensed subcontractors, licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, if you own your own company, to attend this pre-bid conference. Because although this is a single prime contract where a licensed general contractor has to submit the bid, it's good for, we may get contractors that are not from this area come and submit a bid. And it's good for them and good for our local contractors for them to meet these general contractors, because they may end up being subs for them. And generally speaking, even outside contractors, they can't, it'll be cheaper for them and better for them to provide a better bid. So we're out the bid, and we'll be reporting back hopefully sometime in October the results of those bids. Just a couple other things. The animal shelter information, Commissioner Deitch, you requested, it's in your boxes. I also emailed it to you. The energy information that was requested, I just received some of that information today in regards to the energy efficiency for the health department and for the new animal rescue center. I'll provide that information to the board next week sometime. Also, Jeff Searle, from the Director of Broadband Infrastructure, will be attending a work session. He's wanting to come in person, so he prefers to be here in person versus in Zoom. He'll be here October 13th.
Yeah.
And just the final thing for the board is a reminder that our next work session will be discussing our NCACC goals. And I've asked Tony Elders to put together some information in regards to how do we need to format our resolution and our letter to the state when we request taking over or them granting us the authority to provide oversight for erosion. I wanted Tony to just get involved in this, so he'll provide us the technical language that we need to state in that request to the state. And then, of course, you see today, you'll have Mr. Poston discussing with you about proposed language and want you to set up a public hearing for the proposed language change in one of our ordinances that also addresses our erosion control issues. Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Adams? Mr. Deeds?
As is quite usually the case, I didn't see your email. Can you discuss a little bit with you about the information you got from the animal shelter about the population each week or whatever?
It's on this.
Can I?
Here.
I'll be happy to do it. I just didn't bring the
You
information.
look at it,
If I can borrow somebody's, I can talk about it.
Got it here somewhere.
Okay.
I didn't since I've got it.
I may have left it in my box in there.
So, yes, sir. What you have, what was given to us by the health department is information from fiscal year 15-16. So when you see 16 there, that's our fiscal year 15-16 all the way through fiscal year 2021, our current year. So you can see it does have a total of animals, 851 in 15-16, 982 in 16-17, 981 and 17-18, 974 and 18-19, and 910 for fiscal year 19-20. Of course, 84 for our current year is low because that's as you can see accounts for 1 month, and it does break those numbers down to between dogs, cats, and wildlife and livestock. So, Commissioner Deeds, hopefully that's the information you're looking at.
so that average is 36 dogs a month. And with that, if you went up there, there wouldn't be 36 dogs there, would there?
I can only refer to what she says. There are times when their current shelter is a capacity and cannot take anymore, so I'm sure it varies. It's not necessarily an average. I'm sure they have less sometimes and more other times. Breaking down these numbers, if that's the request, I would recommend that we bring the health department to come discuss monthly numbers.
It's not uncommon for them to post that they're at capacity. You see that a lot.
Yeah, and then people will,
That's
Foster.
16, isn't
they
it?
call it
I don't know
foster.
for sure.
Huh?
I don't know what
I
capacity.
think it's something like 16. I think you're correct.
And then don't they call it foster when you'll take
Correct.
one until it's safe?
So they're probably twice the capacity all the time.
Yeah, as stated, they are listing quite often that they're at capacity, yes.
Yeah. The reason I was asking if, I mean, I run into some of these people. One of them was the person that's probably the most fervent person as far as pushing for this last few years. And that person told me that last few weeks, whatever, they hadn't had but 5 or 6 dogs. There wasn't many right now. Would that be correct?
Again, I don't know how many's in right now, Commissioner. I would defer back to when you look at annual, there is a consistent number of.
I'm kind of contrary, I guess. I'd like to know how many, if we're gonna build something that's cost $13 million, or 20 million, or 10 million, whatever it's gonna be, are there needs for something that big, and are they that big a need for that big a space? And I know we all tend to, I know the fire department's asking how many calls they had this year, and they'll tell you, Chairman, this number, they had 800 calls or 1,200 calls. And we all know a lot of those calls was calls that were back stationed in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And calls where somebody ran in the hind end of another one, and it wasn't a thing that we go, but a lot of times, I think the public thinks that's fires and that's terrible wrecks and whatever, and that's just not the case. And I just like to know more about the real number on that. And that might be the real number.
But I can say with all due respect, Commissioner, we have been through, I don't know how many years worth of discussion about this facility. We've paid 2 firms to conduct studies based upon our need assessment, who've utilized these numbers and have gone there and inspected the facility and confirmed those numbers, and the square footage of the facility they gave us was based upon the need. So that's what we've been given. It's based upon the data that shows that this is what we need. And we've gone through a lengthy process to finally get to the position to put it out to bid. So I hope it's all right. At least that's what we've based all these decisions on thus far. Now, there may be a downturn in the numbers maybe right now due to COVID. I don't know.
Well,
But historically, everything has been based upon these numbers, and they've been at capacity or beyond capacity. Mr. Woody?
I was just gonna state though, that, I believe the facility itself is, a little bit more than 3 million. So we're talking about the whole park here when we're talking about the 5 million. And I think that distinction needs to be always clarified, because it does sound like a lot. But, you know, a well-maintained and constructed building that's going to our community is still important. And so I think that's something to remember. About 3 million, a little bit more.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Luker, go ahead.
I think Commissioner Dietz is definitely asking some great questions and some information that, as the general public, we tend to forget quite often and how and why we got there. So, sometimes we do need to be reminded and why we are spending 3 million, 5 million of the tax dollars money. But, the only thing that I'll say in the whole situation is that I hope that we have planned far enough ahead that we're not making the same mistake as we did on the social services building. And that's the day that we move in, we're already out of space, that, that we're not building something that only fits the current situation and not taking the next 20 years into perspective. So, that's the only thing I'll say as we move forward with this process.
Thank you, Commissioner Luker. Mr. Adams, is that something that you can contact the health department and have them to bring those numbers daily, to break it down to most recent?
Yeah, I can, if you would like, I would, now are we predicating this? I gotta make sure they can come next work session if we're needing this before the bids come in. So I can call them and see if I can get them to come and discuss the numbers and breakdown of the numbers for the next work session.
Okay.
If not, then I could have them, this sort of breaks protocol a little bit, but if they couldn't be ready by next Tuesday, then I could go ahead and put them on the regular agenda for mid-month September. That way you can have this conversation as the bid process.
Okay.
And that leads.
And Commissioner Deeds, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm 100% positive that because you definitely are probably around and about more than definitely I can be at this point. But I'm sure a lot of your questions are coming from the taxpayers of the county that are asking you questions about it currently, and you're just wanting the correct answers to be able to give them, moving forward with this.
Well, I'm a Mr. Luker. I may be a minority one. That's okay. I just haven't felt good from day one about some of the cost of this and some of the. It don't seem like we're building something to suit the needs of what we need. I mean, it's like this is the Taj Mahal or something. And I don't think it has to be. But I guess I'm just behind the ball on that. Maybe Mr. Luker.
Commissioner Deeds, by all means, you're fully entitled to be a one. I think it's respectable.
Oh, every time. I may be like one in the church that morning. The preacher said, I believe she's just confused. Look at some of these buildings that's built around this county and where they've put $450,000, $600,000 in the darnest building you've ever seen, and so nice and whatever. And we're going to build something for these animals that cost 3 and 4, 5 times that much. And it just something in me that says, it seems like we're out of touch. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And really, but to say it's been, we've had this thing going, Mr. Luker, about 50 people calling me about it. Now I'm joking with you, but not been a lot of people talk to me about that. But every once in a while, somebody say, I can't believe we're spending that much money on that dog, because people realize how much money that many million is, Ms. Woody, because when they see their neighbor build a house, they put $3.5 million in the house.
Yeah.
It's a nice.
Yes.
It's very nice. And that's all I'm gonna say.
You've about got that much that house in Bluff Creek, don't you?
Yeah, I live in.
No, I would say that instead of hanging out at PJ's, we're going to get you a job up there, and that way you can hear from 50 people.
I'm 72 years old, 2,000 square foot house, pay $25,000 to build. It's a nice home.
It's-
And then I look back at, and I look at some of this, and we're spending a lot of money for something. I hope it's important. It's not more important that people live here. That's my,
Is that sufficient to have Mr. Adams to bring that back to the
yeah,
next
it's really
meeting?
my own fault, commissioners. I keep putting off, but I got things to do like the rest of you, but then sometimes you need to do something, you stop. I won't just go up there and walk in, see how many is in there, and then go back in a week or two, walk in there, see how many's in there, you know? If you walk in there and there's 16, 18, 20, oh, that answers your question. But if they've got 16 or 18 this month, but really they've had 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and whatever, then that's another story. They can end up 16 as that averages out, I think, but that's silly. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry.
So I just want to follow up, make sure I understand, for inviting the health department staff here, the purpose of the discussion is going to be to discuss the census numbers
Correct.
and to discuss
Fostering, just how do they manage the numbers?
Numbers.
What is the total number that they're in care of?
and then also any partnerships that are out there, things of that nature, and just really talk about the census numbers. Is my
Correct.
understanding correct?
And I would suggest they look at numbers pre-COVID, because there could be some changes that have
Sure.
gone on in this situation, that they are lower because, I don't know why, but they just are, and it could be related to that. So they might not, looking at just numbers right now might not be the best numbers to look at.
And it changes
That's a good
with
point.
the university too, does it not?
I think, based on conversations I had with some folks that work up there, I think that that's probably a fair statement.
Like when school's out, of course, this is a
They
whole
leave
new
their
thing. When
pets.
school's out, they leave pets and stuff, and
I've heard that. But then during the year they adopt, so.
And then we'll look at the number of runs that are there, and also I'll go back and look at the 2 studies again. The first study was a 17,000 square foot, if I'm not mistaken, facility. The footprint was a little bit larger. There's been things that have been reduced and changed around. Unfortunately, in this whole time, there was a recommendation for the footprint to be larger, and obviously construction costs continue to increase. So, we can talk about the building itself. Above and beyond, if you take a look at the building, you got operational portions of the building, you got the dog runs, and probably the only thing in that building that's above and beyond standard functions would be the community room and the small room that's there for the nonprofits that are there. But you can go back and look at the facility itself, and we could talk about the number of dog runs and look at the number of dog runs on this facility versus the original one, if we want to. At this point, though, the bids will come in October 1st, and the board will be discussing how you want to go from there.
thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions for Mr. Adams about any of his other report? Is that all?
That's it.
I don't think we have anybody for informal comments, do we? I didn't see anybody on the list. Okay, next is new business, item 1, which is the 2021 schedule of values. I recognize Ms. Tabitha Ash, our tax office.
From the tax office. Good afternoon. I am here to present the proposed schedule of value standards and rules for our upcoming 2021 reappraisal. These have to be adopted prior to the January 1 adoption. But I have 2 separate ones, and you guys should all have a copy. This one is just a general one, has all our land, building, commercial rates. And this one here is just for our present use value program. So we have to have 2 separate schedules that are adopted. And I've also provided an informational packet, this separate document, which we'll go through next week at the work session. But I'm just here tonight to go through this one. I'm not going to give you too much detail. I don't want to go through it too much, but the If you want to flip to this page, the table of contents is here, and it'll show you where all the information is if you want to look through it. This contains all of our base rates, so it'll establish our base for our land value, a base rate for our building values, all of those different things, different adjustments. It's just a guideline for the entire reappraisal. Goes through approaches of value, definition of market value, general statutes, all those things that affect the reappraisal. And the reason I'm here tonight is to request for public hearing for October 6th. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Just mentioned the work session.
Yes, yes.
So for the board's information, Ms. Ash is coming back to the board during the work session to answer any questions. So she's providing information to you now. And please read through it. If you got any questions, she will be back in front of you to answer your questions.
Mr. Chairman, is this a process that every 4 years we adopt basically the same process?
It is, and I'll let Ms. Ash speak to this, but I think we went five years on this one to sort of put us into a better cycle. You know, the last time we went a full 8 years, which was the extent, the furthest extent we could under the general statutes because of the collapse of the economy. But this one is on a 5 year, puts us back to the 5 year.
Correct. And I'll be requesting us to go back to the 4 after that. So hopefully we'll get it back on a 4-year schedule.
But you are correct, Commissioner Luker, that this is the same standard policy and procedures that we normally do each reappraisal cycle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for Tabitha, our tax administrator?
No, but I'd like to say, I don't have many occasions to be down there, but I had a couple of fellows to go off the deep end.
Okay.
That came to talk to me about some of the stuff about their projects where they got ag tax relief because of using their property for ag and whatever. And they were quite perturbed and whatever. And so I told them I'd try to talk and hey, walk them through it and whatever. And y'all were so professional and everybody down there handled that so well. And I learned so much about it even myself. And I'm in ag a lot about how they did that and handle it. And, they had an answer for every question, and they were very professional, and they handled each one of these fellows like they were their preferred customer.
Good.
So I want you to know that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I like to hear that.
Okay, then I guess what we need to do is to officially call for a public hearing concerning these 2021 schedule of values. And do I have a motion then that we call for that public hearing on October the 6th at 5:50 p.m.?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question or discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Deeds?
Yes.
Commissioner Woody?
Yes.
Commissioner Luker?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
What was that October 6th?
October 6th
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
at 5:50.
Yeah. That's okay.
Okay, next is item 2, the request for a public hearing. This is concerning the amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance about the erosion control language. This is something that's been referenced. I think Mike Poston is going to speak a little bit about that request, about the suggested changes, and then likewise, after he makes his presentation, we'll entertain a motion to call for another public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. This evening, I'm here to request that the Board of Commissioners consider calling for a public hearing for an amendment to the erosion control standards found in the Unified Development Ordinance. In speaking with the Code Enforcement Inspections Department, which monitors and oversees our local erosion control program, they've identified this amendment as one that can potentially give them the tools to address some of the issues that we see coming at us, especially with multifamily housing. And what this amendment will do is it takes for multifamily housing developments, requiring that certain benchmarks in the erosion control site development process have been completed before they can come request building permits to go vertical. So what's being proposed is that prior to obtaining building permits for these types of developments, all building pads must be established. Roadways entering and throughout the development should have initial layer of compacted stone in place. All slopes must be seeded and ground cover established. And all sediment basins and erosion control devices shown on the approved erosion control plan must be in place. I will note that these standards are not dependent on what agency is administering or has oversight over the permit. It just simply states that whatever erosion control measures are called for in the approved plan, whether the state approves the plan at the state level or whether we do that at the local level, these items must be taken care of before we'll issue a building permit to go vertical. And we see that a lot. The reason why we are looking at multifamily developments in particular is that that's the type of development that we see that tries to concurrently grade a site and build structures at the same time, which is part of the issue that we're having in some of those locations where we're seeing a lot of erosion control that's not being done as well as we would have done. So this amendment will go to the planning board for public hearing on September in a effort to reduce some of the time frame it will take to make this amendment effective. We are coming to the board ahead of that to request that you call for the public hearing on October 6th for consideration. That will save us about 4 to 6 weeks in the process if we do it ahead of time. But the planning board's public hearings will still happen prior to the board's public hearing like normal. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. But we are requesting that for an October 6th public hearing by the Board of Commissioners on this item.
Any
Mr.
questions?
Chairman.
Posted, Commissioner Luker?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was just a couple more or less statements than questions. I was there Thursday and Saturday and visited all these sites that we've talked so much about, and after the rains and these DOT projects and stuff that's going on, and it's disturbing a lot of what we're seeing and what's happening. And we took for some of the contractors I'm working with, and we are using it as training processes moving forward and everything as well. But it's something that needs to happen, and it should have happened a lot sooner than later. But with that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and set aside October the 6th at 5:55 for the public hearing.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to call for the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other question or discussion? Commissioner Woody?
Just to clarify, this is not changing or adding to any of the current requirements. It's just changing the order. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is kind of a order of operation, if you will, or how you manage the process. So this doesn't require you to do anything that's inherently different other than you've got to meet these benchmarks before you can move forward, and the building department or the inspections folks will actually issue you a building permit.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Deets, did you have a question?
I was up there, Mr. Luker,
Yes, sir.
I was up there also, I think it's Friday, and it's raining,
Yes, sir.
and on the newest building that's building, who is it? That's the referred to, so what property is that?
There are a couple going on right now. Most of them are finishing up, but they've got the Millennial Campus project and across the street.
Across the
One's the
street.
Husk, one's the Helm, and
You go, I went up there Friday, it's pouring the rain. They're literally digging ditches and trying to do something with the erosion problem. Literally, as I was there with the track going down between buildings, and they were there doing carpenter work and working all the way around it at the same time. It's the darndest thing you ever seen. And that's to stop some of that, isn't it? Isn't that
Correct.
what we're trying to do?
that will help address it, meaning that it may not take care of every instance that of the erosion control process. But what it'll do is it'll make sure that there are basic that the plan that they put in place, that they're drain their basins, their seeding, all the infrastructure is in there. That won't guarantee that they won't have to go back and remediate something. But what it will do is before you start going vertical and you have all the traffic associated with the vertical construction and all the site grading people all at the same time trying to do that dance of how you get in and out. This will at least have, most of that site work completed and prior to all the work that's going on for the vertical construction.
And one other thing I think it will address is, and we've seen this with multiple citizens who live there already or have adjoining properties and driveways that meet some of the roads that they're working on. Access to private property has been an issue as well. So I appreciate you doing this so much.
Any other comments or questions on the motion?
On the motion or on the language?
Either one.
Okay. Ground cover established.
Mhm.
That could be mechanical, that you're not talking stuff's up and growing. That could be the straw or whatever that they might have as part of their erosion plan and
Right.
needs to be in place.
Correct. And I think that, and Tony and Steve provided a lot of this language. And so I think that, and they weren't able to make it tonight, but I think your assessment would be
Okay.
correct.
That's what I assumed, but I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, it's hard to get grass to grow in January.
Right.
Did they also have some thoughts about wall heights?
Yeah. And so this is just something that we identified quickly that we could start addressing some of the concerns and issues. This really deals with the pre-construction and beginning of construction phase. And I think that there's also, we have had conversations with Steve and Tony about maybe some other things, some other language that can be included in some of our other ordinances that may help us address some other issues that might be going on. Those talks are ongoing. We're certainly going to have some more updates for the board here in the near future about other things that we think we can recommend for the board's consideration to help address some of the other concerns that deal not only with erosion control, but stormwater after erosion, because erosion control is just there during the construction part. After construction, we talk about stormwater control and some other facets of development. And we'll have some recommendations, I think, for the board to consider on those issues as well in the near future.
Like degree of slopes?
We already have some of that involved,
Yes.
but the wall height is something that's been mentioned to us about exploring. So we're going to take a look at that and seeing where that goes. I think the one thing that we always want to be careful about when we talk about wall height and slopes is that we have to find a happy medium with because none of us are engineers necessarily, and so we usually take the sealed plans, but we can, I think, evaluate if there's some limitations or some restrictions that we want to cap on that. But we always want to have a real good thoughtful conversation about what that does, knowing that a design professional ends up sealing those plans. And we're, as staff, we deal with a lot of these things, but we're not design professionals ourselves. So there's some things in there that we'd like to discuss, and we will be discussing those in the coming weeks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Madam Clerk,
Commissioner Mel,
We're voting
on the motion to call for the public
Yes.
hearing.
Commissioner Luker,
Yes, ma'am.
Woody,
Yes.
Commissioner Dees,
Yes.
Chairman Matt.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Next is item 3. This is an offer to purchase and a contract from Hartley. This is also with the companion resolution R20-15. I'll recognize Ms. Baker to highlight the item. And I do also think that Mr. George Hartley is available via Zoom, or was.
I believe he is
Okay.
on the call, just if you have questions for him. I don't think he plans to speak unless you have questions for
Okay,
him.
well, Ms. Baker, if you'll go ahead and explain the contract.
Sure, it's taking time for that. but you can see it, this is an offer by Mr. Hartley and or signed. If he's successful with this, he may take title another way, and that's why it says that. The offer is for $10,700, which is, as you can see, I give you the whole chart of our properties owned by tax foreclosure. It's this one here, and you can see the $10,700 was the total amount of cost that the county has in the lot. So it's, as far as our process goes, is an offer for the full amount of cost, including attorney fees. The lot itself, I put two aerials here, one a little closer up so you can see the lot itself. And then this one, the lot you can see here, if I can show you here, Holy Mountain Road that you would recognize is here and it follows, so it comes up, it's off Wolf Knob Road, off of Holy Mountain Road, and down here, it's pretty far out, off of Holy Mountain Road, but that just puts it in perspective for you where the lot is. We've had several out of this Bearpin subdivision here recently. And then I can go over to the resolution if you want to see it, but it's your standard resolution if you want to move forward. That would start the upset bid process. The only question I would have, we've done a lot of these are in a similar area as other lots that have been sold. But if you want us to notify the surrounding property owners, you can. Most of them have received previous notice to sales and you do not.
We would probably be, in fairness, to follow the same practice that we've always do so.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
All right, does someone interested in making a motion to accept this offer to purchase and move forward with adopting the resolution to call for the upbid?
Move to adopt resolution R 20-17.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner Luker,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Next is the appointments. Item 4, Colway Planning Council. There are 3 vacancies to fill. That would be Commissioner Luker, Commissioner Woody, and myself. I do not have a name tonight. Do either one of the other commissioners do? Commissioner Woody indicates yes. So Commissioner Woody, do you want to go ahead and make your appointment?
Yes, I would like to nominate Olin Dunford, and he has agreed to serve, and he has passed the background check.
Okay. Commissioner Luker, do you have a name for tonight?
I do not, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Olin would make a great one.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Woody, would you like to put that in the form of a motion that we appoint Mr. Dunford?
Yes, I would like to appoint Olin Dunford to the Colway Planning Council.
Okay. So
Second.
All right, a motion and a second, and that will be appointing Mr. Olin Dunford to the vacancy of the unexpired term of Jack Devnam. Any other questions or comments?
If I could make a suggestion.
Okay, Mr. Poston?
If we could, instead of doing the unexpired term, this board doesn't have a staggering of the 7 members. So I would ask that you would appoint him until the end of so December 31st of 2022. Instead of just filling the unexpired term, give him a full 3 years plus the time until December. So it would be December 31st.
Okay, so your request is that we appoint Mr. Dunsford until December
31st of 2023, which would be a 3-year term, which is what they would normally serve. That would help us achieve staggering, so we wouldn't have all 7 board members coming on at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Ms. Baker, does that pose any problems based on what our ordinance
No,
says?
we had talked about that before, that would help. The ordinance actually calls for staggering, it just, everybody was appointed at the same time, so this is the best way to create that staggering.
Commissioner Woody, would you be willing to include that in your motion, amend your motion to include that
Yes.
dates of term?
Yes, I would like to amend the motion to say that Mr. Dunford would serve till 12/31/2023.
And I guess Commissioner Luker, would you want to second that? And you're willing to,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
all right, any other questions about what we're voting on? All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Luker,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Next is Planning Board. Commissioner Luker, have you been able to secure a name yet?
No, sir. We're going to pass that on if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Mr. Poston, is there a need for them to go ahead and meet for chair, vice chair?
For the planning board, we will do that at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
okay. If you'll go ahead and do that, then we at least go ahead and ratify the chair and the vice chair whenever they can provide those names. Press conference. Let's see who we got on here. Looks like Beth with the Silver Herald. Beth, I'll let you unmute to let me know if you have any questions.
I don't.
Okay, thank you, Beth. And do I see anybody else? I saw Lily earlier, but I think she's left. I don't see Carter or Holly. Okay, well, hearing no more questions, then we'll move on. We do have need for closed session. For I know personnel, what was the other item? Just the personnel one? Okay. So that's GS 143-318-11A6. Do I have a motion by the board to go into closed session?
So
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Okay,
Aye.
we'll give our technical team a chance to secure the link. We'll take a 5-minute recess till they do.